All right, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Friday, everybody. Looking forward to the weekend. Hopefully, you guys all have some exciting plans here as well. Good morning, Suresh, Craig, Steven, Gary, GK, Gabe, Igor, Callum. Hope you guys are all doing well here this morning. And good morning to everyone who is tuning in on Twitter Spaces. Good to see you all. And yeah, let's kind of get after it here a little bit and start mapping things out. Definitely a few things for us to talk about here this morning. So yeah, let's kind of get started here. So first things first, right? Economic calendar's got to be the priority. Now we don't have too much of a like pre-market data drop here today, but we've got a decent amount of Fed speak. We've got a lot of, call it TV appearances, right? For Tom Barkin, for Goolsby. We got Bostic speaking in the afternoon, Mary Daly. So it's a pretty significant calendar of Fed speakers here on a Friday. Clearly, they want to juice their own personal pockets prior to flying off to whatever destination they're going to here this weekend. But for myself, right, I'm going to be still looking for a continuation of this same narrative that we've wanted to establish here so far this week. Yesterday, we got a few, we'll call them like pseudo breakouts, where we got a few names that really popped, but we didn't see necessarily a ton of cooperation across the board. And frustratingly, right, I think we saw the markets pretty well there yesterday, especially with names like Microsoft, but they wanted to maybe shake out and then run first. So with that information right in mind, we do want to be a little bit cautious, as this market has still shown us here this week that it maybe is a little bit of a later mover than being particularly aggressive here at this market open. So yeah, like we want to make sure that basically those narratives then become consistent across the board. And we see, you know, if an AMD is breaking out, like we'll look at in a second, right? We want to see that confluence essentially across the board so that we aren't dealing with those mixed narratives, right? I think those mixed narratives are what's going to keep kind of like a bag of weights, right, on our setups, where it just kind of gets stuck. And then, okay, yeah, maybe if it's strong enough, it can fire through, but it would need to be an outlier for us to get something along those lines. So I would prefer, right, to see that consistency easily and early, just because that would give me conviction that I can get smooth follow through and I won't get chopped about on an entry. Hey, good morning, Joe. Good morning, Solstein. Hope you guys are doing well. So SPY here, guys, we're still looking for this bull flag breakout, and we're still looking for a breakout through all-time highs. That has not happened here yet, although we saw a pretty good encouraging sign from bulls there yesterday. So good gobble up the bears type of price action, right? Good bounce, second most bullish candle, and we're looking for a high conviction breakout essentially through all-time highs. Doesn't need to be on bigger volume than what we saw there yesterday, right? Yesterday was the trend creating event. So we'd like to see if we could get a continuation narrative on ideally building momentum, but it doesn't need to be bigger than that. If we can still get like bigger than maybe what we saw on Tuesday, and then we're in pretty good shape. So we're going to call this a bull flag breakout, right? And we're calling this a 3 for 3 here to the upside. Sorry. One sec here, guys. Sorry. A little bit better. Okay. So yeah, SPY, right? Looking for this bull flag breakout through 510. We're looking for a pop towards like 515. Now, I don't anticipate it's going to have the space to move there all in one go. So I'm going to fill this out basically a buck along the way. If I can then get that, sweet. But again, I would like to see it make all-time highs here if I'm going to trust, right? This is like a legit breakout. It's a good base. It's a really, really good base. But let's actually now push it, right? And see this volume turn into higher highs. Okay. QQQ. Very similar story here, right? Maybe a slightly stronger looking daily candle, which I like, right? But maybe a slightly worse looking volume profile. So if we're going to say, compare SPY versus QQQ, one has a better candle, one has better volume. So we could essentially quantify this as having similar relative strength, right? The setup here fundamentally is still going to be the same. I want to see a breakout at this point right here now, 441 on QQQ, which is all-time highs as well. If I can get a pop through that, right, then that gives me that conviction to get that like follow through higher. On this though, I'd probably like to see a stronger volume profile. So if I could get bigger volume than what we saw yesterday, then this would then make this a lot stronger than the SPY, right? That would then give me that extra little tide goes to the runner type situation. So if I can get that outlier volume, I'd like put my balance or put my energy, I should say, my focus right towards tech. If I see better volume on SPY, then that'll probably be the kind of differentiator there. Okay, Apple. Really interesting here. Not one that I'm going to be interested in trading, but it's not participating in the same way that the indexes are, right? So if you want to be a little bit of a bear or you have a contrarian take, this might be your indication of it. Now, yesterday, very high volume indecision, right? Mega volume doji there. And so I'm going to be pretty cautious until I get a cleaner resolution. High volume indecision is the worst decision because it just tells me that both sides are still fighting. So although there is quote unquote bearish control there and we are getting a significant gap down, I would not anticipate this move lower or this move higher in the short term to be particularly easy. So too much volume there, kind of for like a unneeded reason, we'll call it, right? Where there's not a very clear like earnings catalyst, maybe a little bit of a news narrative, but not enough for me to want to be very aggressive until that narrative becomes just a little bit smoother. So Apple, we're going to stay away from here this morning. So trying to zoom in here on, is that an inside bar? It might be, you know. So Tesla's inside bar yesterday would change the narrative here just a little bit. But you would still need a breakout above 206, right? We've not gotten any separation through that 200 barrier. So you'd be more looking for that resolution to occur versus looking to play anything else here in between. So yeah, I still think it's an inside bar breakout. Call it a double inside bar if you want to call it that. But we need to get that pop up and over. Nice show. Okay, so I'm not the only one seeing things. Good to see. Perfect. Yeah, double inside bar. Let's see a consolidation resolution. For me, it would now bias would be a breakout over 206. If that happens, yeah, you can get that towards 220. Now, I'm not going to make the mistake I've made with AMD yesterday, where I'm going to say that this move is too far. What we've seen here is on these breakouts, if it's like only one or two names moving, it can be crazy, crazy follow through. So 2% on Tesla, not going to count it out. I'm not going to count it out. I made that mistake twice this week, so I'm not going to make it a third time. So yeah, I'll be happy to add this to the watch list. And then breakout above 220, or sorry, breakout above 206 has space up towards 220, $2 along the way. So today's watch list so far, right, is indexes. So SPY, QQQ, and Tesla. No interest in Apple. All right, let's hit up Microsoft here. So Microsoft, a little bit of an annoying trade there. Yesterday we had the perfect thesis, right? We saw it really well. We just kind of got shaken out. Just took too long before it wanted to break out. That's fine. It's the way it goes. Ended up faking out anyway. So in this trade, I don't know if we would have ever gotten a win here. But I think if we can get a break, I mean, like I still get stuck at this Wednesday the 31st candle, right? It's such a big volume bar. It's been such a big, we'll call it magnet, right? Where we can't really sustain a breakout over and we can't really sustain a breakout under. That I think I want to get a breakout over. Excuse me. The reason I want to see a breakout over, right, is if we see rejections consistently inside that area, I'd like to invalidate those highs at the very least for me to consider continuation. And we've got a really strong volume shelf there and a strong 2 out of 3 narrative where you could potentially also look for dip buys like off of 410, like that space, right? Yesterday's breakout essentially, but I would prefer to see a clean resolution because I just think that this Red big selling pressure is still continuing to act as like a little bit of a, I don't know, like a point of interest, right? Or kind of like a misbehaving toddler, right? Where it's just kind of a little bit constantly getting in the way. It's being a little bit yappy. It's being a bit annoying. So I'd like to invalidate it first before I can really have some conviction here. So I'm going to say breakout above 416. And then what's different about this name? So of all the names that we've looked at here so far, SPY, QQQ, Tesla, right? The ones that are on our watch list. What is different about Microsoft compared to those names? So what's the characteristic here that maybe we should be telling us that it's not as strong potentially? Yeah, it's gapping down exactly, right? So that thesis of maybe being stuck at resistance, right, inside that February 31st candle is showing us some signs of strength here pre-market, right? So it gives us that reason to be a little bit pessimistic about its relative strength. And if its relative strength isn't really in line with the other names, I'd rather wait for it to catch up versus trying to front run that momentum then coming back in. And then from there, right, we can go 416, 418, 420, 421, right, is all-time high. So that's going to be then the next shelf. And then from there, I'm just going to go $2 along the way towards 430. So go 423, 425, 427, 429, 430. And that's plenty of room there if I can get that oomph. So add it to the list, but it's got a little bit of work to do. Again, right, same thing like we talked about there on that Tesla. I don't want to discredit names that might have to move a little bit here today. I'd be happy to be just a little bit patient, but I'm not going to be patient forever. Okay, channel breakout here still, I think, setting up on Meta, but we're still pretty far away from getting that pop up and over. I'm looking for a move 494, so about 1% away. Right, and 494 is going to be the resistance or the high established on Friday, February 23rd. So last week's high, we're essentially looking for a weekly high breakout here on this scenario. If I can get that pop over 494, then I do think I have some space up towards that 500 barrier. But again, right, Meta needs to climb about 1% before I do have that sustained price action. And then at that point, right, it is all-time highs. So no reasons to be aggressively selling here, but I would like to see a better resolution or a cleaner resolution around this area of resistance. So an all-time high breakout, if that could also be followed or supported by an all-time high breakout in SPY and QQQ, then again, right, that's that high conviction or consistent narrative that I want to see that would really make me feel that I can push this thing or run this thing right through that 500 cycle level. So Meta, yeah, looks great here. Still looking for that channel breakout. We're going to call this a 2 out of 3 here to the upside. And ideally, I still want to see biggest volume of the week, right? Because we have been relatively contained within that Friday price action. So if yesterday's volume standard was not enough for us to sustain and hold higher highs, I want to make sure that I'm overcoming and overwhelming that volume standard before I'm willing to judge any new signs of strength. So yesterday's bar is going to be like the bare minimum. I would prefer to see outlier. I'd like to see bigger than anything we've seen in the last week, because then that's going to give me conviction that we can actually also see that oomph right to the next level. So Meta looks great. But again, right, the theme that we've seen here so far this morning is many of these names just have to move just a little bit, right, before they're going to be particularly tradable. Make sense? Okay, Amazon. It's kind of like a double bull flag breakout here. Here's your flag. All right, here's your flag, something like that, right? So flag, breakout, right? You do have a little bit of resistance. So we keep talking about this week. We have to go pretty far to our left to establish points of contact here. Don't get confused by this bottom line. That almost tricked me. And we have to start looking, December 2021, right, as our points of contact here. So if we're going to be looking for a breakout above 177.50, we definitely do have space up towards that 180 barrier. But we have to just make sure we're zooming out and identifying those correct zones. So for me, I'm going to call this a breakout scenario. We'll do the count here in a sec. So 177.50, right? And then we're going to go 179, 180. So going about 1% along the way, right, on average. And then we're going to go 181, 182, and then space up towards 188. So 181, I'm just going to go buck along the way, right, towards that barrier. That for me makes a decent amount of sense. That would then be, right, once you're up 4%, you're then targeting moves that are about 0.5% along the way, which would certainly not be particularly greedy and give you, targets, right, to kind of go through follow through. So yeah, if I can get that, that would be sick. I am always surprised by how insanely aggressive these like Nvidias and AMDs of the world can move. They are like, holy fuck, like they're just so impressive how big and powerful these moves are. So if we can continue to get nice follow through, there's opportunity for them to kind of surprise us. But with that extra volatility, right, does come extra potential consequences. And so with that volatility, probably want to be sizing down here a little bit, just to make sure that if things do move quickly, you're not getting like rug pulled and screwed over. If there's more upside, I'd rather make sure I'm capping my downside, just because high volatility price action can make you a little bit emotional, make you a little bit stressed out, a little bit, whatever. And so I'm not going to allow those then, we'll call them triggers, right, to influence me into making decisions that then compound against me. I'll likely end up making more money by trading a slightly smaller position size and controlling my emotions, because I'm not going to compound mistakes later on in the trade. Whereas if I get too aggressive and try to get this too big just because it looks like there's a good setup, what's going to happen is they'll end up closing early, or I'll stop this the second it sees red, or I just won't be able to trust my trading plan here as much as possible. So on this extra volatility, I want to basically have that plan in place way before I ever have to make that decision, so that I am not seeing like that rush of blood, right, when I see price start moving in my direction. Hey, good morning, Antonin. How you doing? And we're going to call this a 2 out of 3, right, to the upside. So I'll add it to the list. No dip buy scenarios here for me as well. Just looking for breakout or bust. Sorry, this was Amazon. Okay, AMD, 3 for 3 here to the upside, right? Mega volume, huge breakout into all-time highs, pushing up towards 200. Right? So I would like to see probably a breakout through there, or a gap fill and go. So pull back into like 193 and then push up towards high a day, or breakout through 200 on good volume. Okay, and then we're looking for a pop above 200. If we can get that breakout over 200, there's going to be plenty of space here, right? All-time high, so I'm going to go percent along the way. So 200, 202, yada, yada, yada. So 200, 202, 204, 205, 207, 209, 210. Gives me plenty of space for this. Give me some follow through. Again, maybe they'll dip by, see bears fail here, a little fake out lower, and then push higher. That might be the scenario I'd like to fall in love with here on this AMD. But again, right, size down if that volatility does show up. All right, NVIDIA, Doji increasing volume, gap up. A little bit indecisive. think you can play an 810 breakout here. This is a setup we had later or earlier on in the week. I think it's still in play, right? If we could push up towards sort of 824 on biggest volume of the week, this would be pretty nice. If I'm going to compare this, though, right, to an AMD, I'm interested in AMD above this 10 times out of 10, right? AMD, stronger looking volume profile, stronger looking daily candle shape, and into all-time highs. So we have less resistance and a stronger foundation that, maybe that fundamentally is a little bit better. Same concept here, right, with managing your position sizing just to account for that extra volatility. This is an $810 stock, right? It's going to be very expensive. Yeah, good question, Antonin. If it depends on the wicks, right? If it's a really bottom heavy wick, then I would call that a second most bullish instead of a doji. But no, indecision is indecision. The range of the indecision probably doesn't give me too many extra signals. Like I wouldn't say like on this NVIDIA, for example, like I wouldn't say that Monday, the February 12th candle is more or less indecisive than yesterday's candle. Does that make sense? But because it's bullish, right? But because I have a bullish base, I'm willing to have like indecision or bullish bias if I can invalidate the indecision, right? Here I would have, in theory, had bearish bias, right, if I can invalidate the indecision. All right, and then from 810, we're going $5 along the way up towards about that 840 barrier. So 810, 815, 820, etc., etc. That'll push you up towards all-time highs, and you'll get some nice oomph through that move. Hey, good morning, GD. How you doing? Okay, Netflix. 2 out of 3 here with volume. 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume, and it's bears. Now, the candle shape here is the weakest bearish candle shape, so not exactly a strong indication of bearish momentum. But if I am going to get a breakout above that 607, it would now have to be on bigger volume than what I saw yesterday. And then through 607, you can go 610, 613, 615, 618, 620. Sweet. It's actually a pretty busy watch list here this morning. A few names, right? Probably a little bit further down the pecking list, right? Like the Teslas and the Microsofts of the world have a little bit more work to do, but something like an AMD could give us an early pop, and Netflix could give us an early pop. So hopefully there's a nice level of enthusiasm for us here this morning. Okay, Google, last but not least here. Same setup if you trade the A class or the C class. Just translate the numbers. I'll be looking at the A class shares here. Excuse me. So what I'm looking for is a high vol breakout above Tuesday, the February 27th high, which is approximately 139.30. We'll call it 139.50. I can get behind that. A little bit more conviction in that number. Right, we've seen basically strong bears fail in a breakout, and then strong bulls reclaim control after a failed breakdown from bears. That failed breakdown also found support on the trend line. So we could have some reasons to see enthusiasm push back up towards or maybe like the midline on the Bollinger Band, right? Or the midline on the daily Bollinger Band, which would be pushing around that 143 barrier. Now, fundamentally, right, I would not say that I have a very strong indication here of trending price action yet. Although this is a 3 for 3 here to the upside, I still feel like I may be a little bit confined within some sort of selling pressure. So I would like to just look for breakout scenarios here this morning. That breakout, like I mentioned, starts above 139.50 and has space about $1 along the way towards that 143 area. And so I'll go like 139.50, probably a 140. I think that's probably the move. It's hard to ignore a round number. So 139.50, 140. I can type 141, 142, 143, right? And then 144 is kind of that midline, or a little bit above that midline, I should say. So that gives me a decent amount of space here on Google if I could get that follow through. It's also been one of those names, right, that's kind of been eating shit, for lack of a better term, over the last week or so. So maybe it could just be time for a little bit of a relief bounce and could have a clean opportunity. So we got a few minutes here, guys, till market open. If there's any names that are catching your eye or any names that you want to go over, please feel free to drop a message here in the Twitter Spaces. And that'll get you, we'll do a quick little rundown here towards your names. Otherwise, DTR members, if there's any tickers that you're looking at, be happy to give you all a quick little rundown as well. Today's watch list is pretty bumping, right? We got SPY, QQQ, Tesla, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, AMD, Nvidia, Netflix, and Google. And we want to see essentially all of those setups or all of those scenarios break out and give me conviction in the same way, right? So consistent stories across the board here, nice clean narratives. I want to see price action that is relatively consistent and backed by volume. And then we can kind of go from there. Let's take a look at WTI here first. So we're still looking at a breakout through that $80 barrier. That's going to be your point of resistance. So I'd like to see that occur before I'm willing to call anything. Gabe, I'm going to have, we'll talk about it a little bit once the trading day kind of calms down a little bit. But I have a little idea for an opening range SPX kind of strategy. So we'll talk about that at some point here. And that should hopefully give us good daily coverage for a tradable opportunity. Crude, I maybe like a little bit more than Brent. So we'll see if we can get something there. But yeah, we'll talk about that as things kind of creep down here a little bit. Been pestering some people for some information, and they've come through. So I've got some ideas, and hopefully they'll kind of finalize them here this afternoon or this morning, whatever you guys want to call it. So final call here, guys. Anything you're looking at? Any names you're looking at? Yeah, let's take a look at Coinbase. This for me would be one to watch versus one to trade, right? Lower low, lower high, opening up in the middle of that candle's range. Its most likely outcome is a day of consolidation. So I would stay away from that. No clear indication of trending price action here this morning. So let it catch its breath. Disney looks a bit more like a rejection, right, than strong bullish momentum. But if it was a rejection, why didn't that candle close red? So again, I think this looks a little bit more like price action needs to catch its breath here a little bit. Right, we want strong, consistent narratives, right? Okay, Roku maybe a little bit more extended, where you have at least a better risk-reward ratio up towards high of day, or call it high of range, about that $80 mark. What you'd like to see, though, is a bearish failure before you're willing to step back in and be particularly bullish, because after you've seen bulls take control here recently, you've also seen then bulls fail. So you'd want to see bears fail before bulls can take back control, right? If it's going to be range bound and stick within those sort of parameters, you want to make sure that one side is given up before you try to take advantage of the next. Let's take a look at Snow. Another request here. So 3 for 3 here to the upside, outside of the daily Bollinger Bands. I mean, this looks great as a possible setup up probably towards like that 200 barrier. This would look awesome. I would try to see maybe like a breakout through 192 on a good continuation volume narrative. Would definitely have space, yeah, towards that sort of 200 shelf. So sorry guys, I got to get out of here now. It's time for me to focus and start trading. But if you guys all have yourselves a fantastic weekend, fantastic day. We'll do another prep here on Monday at 9 a.m. Hope you guys all tune in then. But focus on your risk management, right? Focus on the variables you can control, and hopefully you'll get some clean PA here today. All right, so see you guys. Peace. All right, DTR members. Yeah, let's see where the price action shows up here today. Absolutely very busy watch list, right? We want to see where that enthusiasm is in play, like a meta. This is a great volume pace here for us, right? So this absolutely could be there. But yeah, give you guys some color about that opening range idea. This is a strategy that's pretty popular on Twitter, right? I'm sure you guys all know who Pax is, or Deli, right? Crudeli. They both kind of old school futures pit traders, right? And what they do is they use an opening range breakout as essentially their setup trigger. So it's okay, find the highs or lows of the opening 30 seconds, opening minute, whatever time frame you want to set. And then you're looking for longs above that level or shorts under that level. Now, it's not as binary as simply just buying or chasing highs through there. This is where we're going to want to put the DTR spin, right? So it'll be like looking for weak pullbacks, right? Looking for risk-reward ratios that justify those sort of setups, and looking for opportunities where we're seeing breakouts on volume through those ranges. So that's going to be sort of the base foundation of that, we'll call it futures index-based strategy, because I think that's going to give us a lot of opportunities in a bunch of names that where we don't necessarily see like that traditional volume profile stepping in right at that immediate open. So if we could use a slightly different trigger to identify which direction to go, we could then apply all of our other core principles, like our risk reward, right, our entry sizing, our position sizing requirements to those sort of setups. And if we could sync up essentially those narratives, I think that's where we're going to start to see maybe some pretty consistent follow through on some of the names that we trade. So that's my base idea here. How I'm actually going to then execute that, we're going to have to figure out how to track essentially the opening range. Do you think that's probably going to be a ChatGPT project where we'll code that up and make that available to everyone through TradingView? So bear with me here. I'll try to figure that out today, over this weekend. That's sort of my project. And yeah, we'll hopefully have something live for Monday. And the idea here, like obviously guys, my dream is always to get one trade a day, right? So I would say that for me is fundamentally where I would like to be as a trader. Now, it doesn't mean I want to force one trade a day. It doesn't mean I have to get one trade a day. But I would like to have a conviction of being able to get at least kind of one A+ setup a day. If I can get that, then I'd be pretty happy. And that I would think, give us pretty good coverage as a group, right? Where we would have maybe one or two good A+ looks, right, on a futures level, one or two plus good looks on a equity level. And then I think that would be a really good place for us to be as a team. And one thing that I do love about futures, and I think would be fantastic for us as a kind of quote unquote community, is that you're going to see really consistent fill prices, right? You're not going to get that same slippage you would potentially see when you were trading stocks, because it's a regulated and incredibly liquid product. And so there might be actually a lot of consistency in our execution ability. And so from my perspective, that makes things pretty optimistic. Okay, AMD not holding 200. I am not doing what I did yesterday. Got to wait for that 200 hold. Yeah, exactly. Makes everything so much more efficient, right? Yeah. Stocks is not bad, honestly. Like if you're just trading, I don't know, like a Meta or something like that, fine. If you're trading actually the pure equity, if you're trading CFDs and like FX CFDs, there's just some shady shit that can happen, honestly. It has been quite enlightening to do a lot of these calls with these like white label brokerages and all these kind of stuff about things that you can purchase. And like literally some of these prop firms, they can pick the spreads that they offer. So there's a lot of shady shit that people try to pull. Yeah, and like location, how close they are to the exchange, that's going to determine slippage. There's a lot of variables into it. It's a great book for those of you who are interested in learning how that works. No. SSB, we're going to just trade SPX instead of SPY, right? So we still offer index coverage every single day, right? We're just going to translate it instead of being from the ETF to being the future. Because there's still plenty of members, right, that are trading stocks, that have access to stocks. So it's there's no reason for us to make any changes, right, very aggressively. But I do want to make sure, right, that for those who are going to be trading futures, who want to deal with that, right, that I am trading the same products as you guys. That is what you signed up for. That is what's fair. So easy translation. Okay, so far we've done a good job waiting on these longer time frames, right? No real clean confirmations here on the fives. Yeah, Meta got so close, but not quite enough. Yeah, and I do think it'll come back. I keep stressing this to people because it is too big of a problem to just be left, right? It's too profitable for someone to make a solution, myself included, right? So yeah, I would love to make sure that everyone has access. Oh yeah, Gary, great. Yeah, sorry. It's called Inside the Little Black Box. It's like about how quant funds set up all their data and stuff like that. Hey, Rusty, how's it going? Okay, so watching Meta here. Oh, I've not read Dark Pools. I'll have to look that up. So we need to see a pretty decent pullback here, right? Target's going to be 500. So you need to see a pullback towards 493.50. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. All right, higher high immediately almost. The lunatic. So likely though, right, on this 15-minute time frame, it's still going to be that same entry, right? Because we already had that increasing volume, so we do have quote unquote confirmation. Stop loss would still be the same, but now we just want to make sure this candle closes with some strength. But yeah, this idea, guys, of getting one setup a day, one trade a day, it's the holy grail, I think, for me. Fuck, Meta, what a cycle. Back in a second here, team, one sec. All right, so let's see how these 15 main candles close. Meta continues to look interesting. Again, needs a big pullback though. Oh man, I can't even imagine what inspections look like in your line of work, Rusty. Oh my goodness. So yeah, Meta's still in play here, guys, but needs an aggressive pullback. Unless it's somehow... Ooh, maybe not as aggressive as I thought. Might be able to do this. 497.87. Let's take a look here. I'd probably go with dollar stop loss here, guys, right? Just extra volatility. So just setting everything up here, right? Setting everything up. Let's watch. 50 cents or so to go. Craig, I would take it literally. Yeah. All right, watching here, team. Watching here. Oh, come on, Meta. Don't be a dick. Okay, still watching here, team, right? Still watching. Yeah, he's got the stomach to hold through any trade, that's for sure. Okay, watching closely here, team. All right, I am in. Average price $497.70. Stop loss just under $497. All right, let's go, guys. Let's go. Good trade here so far, right? First scale out going to happen in a second. Close, close, close. Trying to close them out here now. There we go, right? Closed a quarter of my position there at 1R. Sorry, guys. This has been a bit of a slow one. Sorry, a bit of a quick one. I've not been able to type it out on my screen. I apologize. Guys, I'm going to look to close a little bit more off here, I think, in a second, right around that 500 barrier. This thing has moved very, very quickly. I am up way more than I expected. Anyone else in this with me? Okay, guys, next target here, right? 30 cents away. Okay, we're going to take some off, guys. I'm going to take some off. So I'll have half of my total position left if I can get a fill. Oh, come on. Don't do this. Push, push. Okay, 15 cents. Come on. Maybe it's being a little bit greedy, right? $499.70 is 2R. Did I fuck myself there? Nah, I think I'm okay. I won't lie, Brian. I really needed this today. Been a long week. Been a long, well, there we go. Guys, took a little bit off there at 500. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So stop loss now above my entry price. We'll call it stop at, I'll call it, yeah, stop at 498. Let's go, team. Let's go. All right. So we can get some big follow through here past 500, right? Wow. I can't believe this. So next target here, all-time highs, we're going to go 502. Anyone else in this with me here? Callum, you in this? Oh. This week was torturous, Brian. It's torturous. We're doing things right, and it was costing us money. Nice work, Igor. Let's go. Man, you got better entry than me. Come on. Let's go, dude. I'm only jealous on out loud. I'm very happy for you. That's awesome. I do like that as a competition among us, to be honest, guys. It's kind of like it's a good benchmark, I think, right? It's like you can kind of gamify any entry, right, based of our system under 497.69, right, is a good entry, right? It's 3-to-1 risk reward. It's the whole 9 yards. So you could gamify, right, any entry under that price. I should be very happy. That's a positive expectations or a plus EV entry. I think you could probably do the same with judging it on my price. Nice, Gary. Nice. It's a good 25% rip. Let's go. But yeah, you can use it as a benchmark, right? If you're happy with your trading, you're happy with your entry if you get it better than me or better than the 236 fib, probably getting good expected value there. Oh, I feel so good, team. And shows, right, how one trade, like if your risk management is good, you can lose 2 trades and be green after 3, right? Now, that's not obviously my goal here, but yeah, that moved real fast. We got that just about perfect. You know how nice it was for us to be in a trade here today for a change that moved right away, right? Like we were green almost instantly on our entries, right? Which is an incredible feeling. That's exactly what you'd want, right? From an A+ trade. That's, you're entering because you think it's about to move. So when you actually get that exact reaction, it feels awesome. Now that is a lot of selling pressure there. Kind of a nasty candle, I would say. But I'm going to trust the plan here still now. But yeah, we had 70 cents of risk there, guys. So full-size trade. Green right away. Textbook breakout. Feels really, really good. We established biggest volume of the week right on the longer time frame. Once we established that on the 15, we just used the 5-min to get a better risk reward ratio, right? To get a more realistic entry. So I might get stopped out here in a sec. Protecting entry, right? Might get stopped out here. Yeah, stop loss is at 498. But yeah, once I'm up 2 scale outs, stop loss is always at entry price plus spread. So I've seen the spread as about 30 cents. So spread plus 30, or entry plus 30, right? Oh, gosh, guys, that felt so good. Oh. Just like to get a little bit more separation away from this 498, right? Just a little bit more would be really nice. So it was a 15 min, right? Good 15 min breakout candle. And then on the 5 min, we saw an increasing volume profile through that 498 breakout. So we established biggest volume of the week, but we could get a tighter stop loss by switching to a shorter time frame. So we had the same setup signal on the 5 as we did on the 15, but we could get a more realistic stop loss, right? Waiting for a $5-6 pullback probably is not going to happen. So we could centralize or look on a shorter time frame, see the breakout right through 498 and hold, right? There's your target, right? And then you're going towards 500. So we have that volume get established. We see that same setup occur on a shorter time frame. This gives us a more realistic entry zone. If, right, this 5 min candle was not increasing volume, then I would have not been able to do that. It's only because that volume gave me that increasing standard. Okay, we might survive that pullback here relatively well. It's quite a lot of selling pressure though at 500. It's quite a lot. Thanks, Craig. Thank you. And it bounced exactly right off of that 236 fib. Right, so it did give us exactly into our 3-to-1 risk reward, exact entry spot, right? And, you know, rewarded, right, for being set up ready to trade. So very happy with this. It feels really good. Feels really good to not do anything. Well, a few guys did better than I did, but I won't complain. Life is good. Okay, there goes SPY. I mean, that should help us with our thesis here, right? Holding out for some joy. Oh, that looks like a data move. Construction spending, that can't be it. Consumer sentiment. Guess. Man, I love this job, team. I freaking love it. Oh, feels so good. Like it's not even I think you guys probably feel the same way sometimes, but it's actually like the adrenaline rush. It's like feels like a weight gets lifted off your shoulders. Okay, so we're back to 500 here. Man, this is a fucking trade. If I can get a 502, guys, I am taking back my no stakes thing I said yesterday. Okay, there goes 500 again. I'd like to see a sustained breakout up and over, right? We got pretty stuck on some volume there at the first go. So it was a really good take profit actually from us. So I would like to now see basically like a big breakout through whatever that high of day is. Pop through there. I'll probably trim a little bit more of my entry. So I'll probably trim a quarter of what I have left. So then I'll have a little bit less than net half exposure. But I want to just keep taking profit, right, as it's making new highs. Don't want to get greedy here. Already making a big move. All right, this is a great trade. This is a week making trade. So it's basically just don't do anything stupid. All right, watching close here. Oh, God, guys, I love this job. So 501 probably. Might have missed it, to be honest. Who's still in this with me? Nice, Callum. Let's go. Good man. Very good. Are you still, are you back in the UK yet, or are you still traveling? Ah, dude, that's awesome. Getting another little doji at those highs doesn't feel great, right? And Rusty, you're not doing too bad for yourself either here, man. Wow, AMD above 200. Pretty impressive. Oh. Do you think making money feels worse or better in the metaverse? Like if we traded this, if we traded Meta in the metaverse with our Oculus headsets, do you think we'd feel better about ourselves or worse? I think it'd probably be worse. That's what's making me laugh here. Come on, I'd love to see some separation through 5. Oh, what a nice end to the week, though, team. This might be the biggest win of the year here in a sec. Okay, so again, right, if we do a little fake out above high a day, I'm going to take a little bit more off there. Like a 501-ish. Just want to keep taking off on the way up, right? Lock in a big, big day, right? I want to lock in a nice breakfast. I reckon we might get a little breakout here, right? If it makes higher highs, we're going to get a little bit of a squeeze. And that could push us close towards that 501. This is going to be my opportunity to possibly get out a little bit more here. So watching carefully. There it is, right? So closed a little bit off there, 584. 584, exactly what we expected. Perfect. So now, guys, next target's going to be 502. And I have about a quarter of my original position left. Oh, best job in the world. And I'm going to close about a half of what I have left at 502 and basically just hold on like a small chunk for a lottery ticket here. Oh, I love this job, guys. So much. Like, I'm lucky with a lot of things in life, for sure. But the thing I'm luckiest about is that I never have had a real day job. My only ever serious job was trading. And that was never a job. It never felt like a job. Like, I watched the movie Office Space like a documentary. I got a quarter of my original position left, Brian. So I've done 3 scale outs here so far. Just a quarter of my original position each time. And then this last chunk, I'm basically just going to go split it up into like the smallest bits I basically feel like I can. Like it... From this 501 to whatever remaining upside is left, it's almost going to be, like the chunks are going to be pretty small. So I'll take off a couple hundred shares and then 100 shares and then like 50 shares and then 10 shares, like stuff like that. Like at this point, it's more lottery ticket. I'm willing to be I don't say whimsical with it, right? But I'm willing to be a little bit looser. Guys, we had 70 cents of risk here for $3, $4 of upside. Holy. I freaking love it when a plan comes together. The net 2R win. This is awesome. So like I said, guys, next chunk here, 50 cents or so. 502, right? Half of what I have left. There was Amazon. So we're getting really good follow through across the board. Amazon might not sustain. I'm just going to stick to Meta, obviously. No point taking any other trades here. Life is good and hash browns are delicious. So funny, right? Yesterday in the daily debrief, I was kind of annoyed, right? Yesterday with the Microsoft trade, how long it took. But my thesis: if I don't cheat my process, trades won't feel emotional. Well, fuck, I feel like we did that to the T here today, right? Perfect volume, hit exactly that 236 fib. No like waiting for it to feel like the right entry. Feels good. Yeah, a couple things, right? Appreciate that, Garrett. A couple things that really today is kind of a day that gives you confidence because, or at least for myself, it's kind of the type of day that gives you confidence because one trade has covered for the pains and toils of the week, right? And so survived drawdowns, survived a little bit. It's not two losing trades. None of them were full size, right? Fine. And you bounce back from that, you trust your process, and then you see the result, and you see the result cover, right, the variance that you know is pre-programmed in anyway. Just makes you like it makes you trust, right, that you're doing things the right way. So I love that, right? Like we create confidence from facts, not feelings. And today we created a really good fact for ourselves. That makes me feel really, I think that's what feels like the weight off your shoulder, right? I think that's what that is. But Gary, we're going to have plenty of these days still, right? We're going to have plenty of these days, man. They're not going anywhere. If we focus on the variables we can't control, right, they're not going anywhere. And trust me, when you do get funded and you do hit that first like 10K win, oh, dude, it's the best feeling in the world. Holy. Like it is. That is the most addictive feeling I have ever experienced, besides roulette. Freaking love it. You'll be able to trade futures. You'll be able to trade indexes. You'll be fine, Gary. You'll have plenty of options here too, right? Once they bring on their new broker. Man, that's awesome, right? He still made money today. Can't complain. It was a 25% win, right? Things could be worse, that's for sure. Well, my entry is binary here, right? So there's a couple questions that you can ask yourself. Right, if we know that we use the fib technique to set up our ideal entry zone and to set up your entry price, and you keep missing it, then maybe the reason why you missed it is because you're not setting your entry prior to it hitting, right? You're waiting to see it hit and then it goes, and by the time you're able to set things up or put everything in, then it's too late, right? So it would depend on what the actual internal process is as to why you missed the trade. The idea here is that we're not waiting for it to feel like it's the right time. We're waiting for it to essentially just touch that price, right? We can make 497.69 or 497.70 a binary thing. Either it hits that or it doesn't. So if I was prepared for that trade and I worked back to my entry price and I just didn't set up my order in time and then missed it, well, then I have to look internally and say, okay, how can I basically smoothen out my process so that I don't miss trades? And then from there, right, if it doesn't hit my price and flies, well, because my entry is binary, I don't really hold it against myself when things move without following my rules. So that's really it, right? The idea with your entry technique is to try to make it as consistent as possible, because if you do the same thing every single time, you'll be able to know how to navigate that system, right? So if you're constantly setting it at that 236 fib level, you've got that order set prior to it pulling back into your spot. Well, if it's constantly early, well, you'll know because you're doing the same thing every single time, and you'll be able to see those statistics inside sort of your time in red, right, kind of numbers. But if it is bouncing and running regardless, then maybe the look is internal, right? What could I have done better to have made sure I've gotten this? And then from there, right, it's, well, if I'm waiting for a pullback into that price and I get that pullback and then chase it later, why was I waiting for a pullback, right? It's irrational to then chase price above those levels. So the idea with your entries, especially if you're struggling with making them feel like it's appropriate, is it's that you make it binary. Either it hits your price or it doesn't. You work backwards to find a specific target, right? And then from there, you jump in, you set your order. So 2 minutes before the entry price, we determined that 497.75, that area was the best looking entry. So there was plenty of time to have that trade set up and ready to go. And you have to fight through that indecision of waiting for it to hit 497.69, making it feel, or waiting for it to feel like it's going to be the right entry, and then closing it, right? Or then looking for an entry. Tends to not work that way. You gotta have the courage to buy when your system tells you to and not when it feels like it's correct. Because it's the process of buying it enough times when your system tells you to that then trains you to know what a correct entry feels like, right? That's what we're trying to work backwards towards. right? Basically, our gut feeling is not trained well to do whatever. Yeah, so SSB, if you look, there's a video inside the Discord that explains exactly my entry technique in specifics, but the way that I would recommend people do it with their funded accounts is, yeah, you use limit orders. You set a limit price at $497.69 prior to it hitting that price, and then you'll be able to get a fill. Right? So the point is that you've set your order when the price is above it, so that you wait for a pullback into it. Right? If you're waiting for a market order, well, then you're doing the same thing of waiting for it to hit and feel right before you enter. Right? So the only way that you can make it binary is by using a limit order. So still in here, guys, looking for that 502. Right? Control the variables you can control. And a lot of that means, right, trusting your setups and your signals when they show up so that you go for it. I can't account for flushes, GD. If I see, like, I'm a human, and so if I see me getting flushed and then shaken out a few times, maybe I'll overcorrect and try to time that out. But I'm not solving for 100% here, right? There's going to be a lot of trades that stop me out and then still run, or flush through my entry zone and then bounce back all the way. Unfortunately, that's going to happen 100% of the time. Not 100% of the time, but it's going to happen to 100% of traders. So I don't really account for it. I'm hoping that my entry technique gets me a good enough entry 70% of the time. Right? And good enough in this context is based on a risk-reward ratio. Right? If I get 3-to-1 risk-reward like I did here today, I can be correct on 1/3 of my trades and still be green like I have been this week, right? So that's why we do it. It gives you that margin for error so that you don't have to think about those, call them like emotion-inducing behaviors around our entries, right? We try to use that risk reward. We try to use those pullbacks to buy ourselves that margin for error so that, yeah, we can literally be idiots and make money. It's really the goal. And yeah, okay, there's going to be times where price makes us feel even dumber because it's going to flush us out. It's going to stop us out and then run. Even like yesterday, right? We had the right idea on Microsoft, but the wrong timing. So I'm not accounting for that. I know that those are baked into my back test. And so I just have to have the confidence to basically be like, all right, fuck, this sucks, but this is what it happens, right? This is what a losing trade looks like. This is what the variance of my decisions look like. Well, yeah, it doesn't feel good. It feels like shit every single time, but I can't take it personally, really, is what it is. Or I can't try to solve for that 100%. If I keep getting flushed, same thing, right? If I'm always buying that 236 and I keep getting flushed, then okay, maybe I have a technique that I can now change, right, to account for that. But I want the evidence. The only really exception I will do, right, about not buying that 236 fib is if my stop loss is larger than $1. So I will buy either the 236 fib if it's $1 or less, or I look to buy $1 from the zero line. Like, that's pretty much it. And so both of those numbers are binary conclusions. And then obviously if like you're in a choppy market, you're getting context that maybe is suggesting that, yeah, you're going to get flushed. That's maybe when you start looking to buy your stop losses, essentially, right? You wait for that fake out, you wait for that tennis ball, and then you jump in. But those are rare circumstances. So we should not be like trying to overcorrect our technique to solve for that sort of rare-ish problem, right? It's not worth our effort. And to a certain extent, right, if you behave the same way on every single trade, right, you use the same technique, the same set of rules consistently, kind of know, and this is kind of oh, it's like this is how a tourist would explain something. Like it's kind of like fugazi. But if you do the same thing every single time, you can kind of get a gut feeling of when your rules need to be broken. And I know that's kind of a shitty explanation or kind of like a bad version. But if you have a complete understanding over how you're going to behave and when you're going to behave, then you almost know when those behaviors feel weird and off, right? And then at that point, you can make exceptions and you can do whatever, but it takes a long time to train your gut up towards that point. I think too many traders are willing to rely on that feeling when they have no evidence that it is actually profitable for them. Right? So that's why, again, we got to train the gut, right? And the only way you train your gut is by being consistent in that technique. Okay, I might get stopped out here. Still in. It's a big spread though again. Interactive brokers, yeah. I've seen it as much as like 60 cents here in the last 5 minutes or so. Which is aggressive. That's a big spread. Honestly, guys, it feels so good today. Anyone been watching Masters of Air? $0.25 spread right now. Still in. So the bid cross, not the ask. Might be your warning sign, to be fair. Pretty low volume pullback, right? But been a couple high volume rejections at that 500 area. I'm not sure how much more sustained action this thing has. It's teasing that 408. It feels like it might settle under a little bit. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just going to trust the plan for now still. Oh, this trade felt so good, team. Cheers, Craig. Yeah, it was feels so good when a plan comes together. Honestly, it feels so good. People who traded with FTMO were able to trade this here, GD. People who were trading with Trade the Pool were able to trade this. I think a few people also traded this inside their personal accounts. Masters of Air. It's like the Band of Brothers reboot of the 100th Airborne. Or the 8th Air Force or something like that. Should know this. Yeah, for Canadians, yeah, it has not changed. It has stocks for everyone besides Americans, essentially. Yeah, honestly, that's why I'm confident that Lark will bring back stocks to other Canadians or non-Americans. So for those of you who are just waiting it out, right? Like once they bring on their new brokers, I'm sure that that'll be the solution. They just have to figure out how to basically split people, right? So it's a little bit complicated. But there's the proof of concept that that model already exists. For Americans, there are alternatives, there are other firms, and there are other options. And again, I'm maybe not tomorrow, but in the next little bit, I'm sure there will be a solution to this problem. I mean, I have a version of doing it. It's just taking a lot of time to do it properly. So if ultimately, if it doesn't happen, right, I got in 6 months' time, I might be able to have my own kind of version of the right way to do it. All right, guys, I have been stopped out of a nice winning trade. Great work, team. Scaled out 3/4 of my position prior to getting stopped, so that was awesome. God, I love this job. Any questions about this setup? Any questions about this trade? Anything you guys want to go over here? So brings us to a 13-5 tally for the year. 13 wins, 5 losses, up 14 spots, 7%. I'll take it. I'll take it. So yesterday I ranted and raved about not deserving a steak dinner. I might have changed my mind on that. Yeah, I'm very confident, Igor, that we'll be able to find solutions. You don't have to necessarily go with Lark if you don't want to. You have other options besides them. But I think, honestly, once we get that opening range breakout thing figured out on SPX, and I spent a little bit of time translating that here this weekend, don't think people are going to feel bad. We're going to have plenty of coverage regardless, and it'll be universal because they can't take that away. Like if our floor could be 2 or 3 good setups a week on the old SPIDA, SPX, life would be awesome, right? Yeah, well, there's other companies that don't have limits, right? Like FTMO doesn't have any limits. But yeah, honestly, guys, give the industry like a week here because everyone has just gone through the same transition, right? So what's now going to happen is they've sorted out basically they start the leaks, right? Now they're going to start to be able to innovate it again here pretty soon. But yeah, we'll be all right. Honestly, Igor, that would be probably your choice personally. If you feel like you're going to get enough coverage, okay, I can't like. My advice always is for you to be as selfish as possible with that decision, right? What do you think is going to be the best thing for you in your account? So I can't really answer that, right? Because My self-interest might be different than yours, right? Truth be told. So I would rather you make your own decision, right? If you feel like you're going to be happy with that and you feel like you're going to get enough coverage, awesome, sweet. If you don't do it. Right? Everyone has different goals, right? Everyone has different time frames. Everyone has different ways that they set their own objectives. And so it's my job here to be as supportive of you in pursuit of those objectives. But you have to be the one that sets out what you want, right? My job to help you achieve that as properly as you can. So any questions, team? Anything you guys want to go over here? Happy to answer whatever might be intriguing you here. Not for today, Igor. You would not be able to set one up for today. If you want to set one up for Monday or Tuesday, please go ahead. I already have like those slots booked, right? What was Wall Street Bets banking on with Home Depot? I don't know if I'm familiar with this story. So what are we looking for here? Nice. You just know someone had a fat sell order 8 cents higher. So any other questions here, guys? Any other questions? Happy to answer those here now. All right, everyone. Well, if no further questions, I'm going to kill the stream here for the day. Glad we were able to end the week on a really nice win and a textbook A+ breakout setup. That was a lot of fun. It was good to trade that. That felt awesome. Feels so good when a plan comes together. So very excited about that. For everyone else, right, we're going to be, or this week I'm going to put together a little bit of time, a little bit of thinking about futures and all those sort of stuff to make sure that everyone has accessible and tradable opportunities. And hopefully we can get ourselves rocking and rolling for everyone. So you guys are all passing and crushing your evaluations. Be great, right, if everyone's on the call it equal playing field here. But hopefully that'll be sorted out for everyone in the next day or two. But until then, guys, have yourselves all a fantastic rest of the afternoon. Be back at it again here on Monday, and hopefully we'll get back to crushing it then. And guys, celebrate. It was a tough week, and we bounced back and we worked hard and we created positive outcomes by trusting our system and following our plan. Ultimately, those are the days that are the most rewarding as traders. So write that down in your notes, right? Remember how good it was to maintain that discipline at the end of a tough week. That's going to compound and create awesome things in your trading long term. So that's it, guys. Have yourselves all a great one. And I'll catch up with a few of you in our calls here this afternoon or on Monday inside the stream. Peace.